Thank you for choosing to watch the Watchman News Headlines video. Our full episodes can now be seen over at Patreon with much more added content for just $2 a month. Link is in the description. If you cannot afford $2 a month, please consider using our Amazon affiliate link, purchasing from our Teespring store, or making a PayPal donation. All links are below. In order for us to grow, we have to make changes to enable it. Our time is valuable, and we have been one of the very few news sources actually dedicated to bringing you honest, hard-hitting, actionable news and information. Plus, for your $2 a month, you do not have to hear me blabber about these links. It's a win for us all.
Bullshit.
Thank you. Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of YouTube. So tonight over on Patreon, we talked about storm preparedness. We talked about the common things, like they always beat into the ground every year. And I, wanted to make sure to include some things that were not so common to discuss. So, couple of things I will share with you all when it comes to that. 3 things. Let me throw you 3 things that I mentioned that are not maybe so commonly heard when it comes to storm preparedness or weather readiness. Number 1, if you live like in a tornado prone area or whatever like that, probably a good idea, as you already know, they beat it into the ground, but get you a duffel bag worth of stuff together, right? But in that duffel bag, there's a couple items that you may not normally think of to throw in the duffel bag, but please do. One of them is a crowbar, okay, a pry bar. Okay, another thing is a power bank to be able to charge your phone. Because when a storm moves through, you may have a temporary outage of communications, but it would really, really suck if you were trapped somewhere and got caught up in that temporary outage and not be able to make any contact out with your mobile, device, and the battery go dead by the time they get communication systems up. And here you're trapped with a dead phone and no way to contact anybody. So, might be a good idea to have one of those little power banks in there to be able to charge your phone. Or even one of those crank-up radio thingies that does NOAA weather and it's got a flashlight and all that, and you charge your phone with it, cranking it up. Although, it's not a bad idea. But I would still recommend having a decent quality power bank as well, because a lot of those crank up radio thingies, even the pricey ones, are made pretty cheap. So, and then there was one other thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to weather preparedness. And the reason why is because, look, folks, there's a reason why I'm over there to Patreon, and it's to help, fund and do projects and do some really cool stuff. And yeah, YouTube will benefit from that stuff too. Not all of it. There will be considerable stuff reserved for Patreon. However, that's what that's going towards. But what's more important to me is your readiness, your preparedness, whether it be for storms, whether it be for any other type of SHTF. And one thing that is commonly talked about in prepping, and people love them, and there's no reason why they shouldn't love them, is lanterns, like oil lanterns. Do not use an oil lantern for storm preparedness. Please. Please. You could wind up in a situation to where you're trapped in an area and that lantern get knocked off of wherever it's sitting and cause a fire, and now you, as a result of a storm, are trapped in an area to where what you used for light is now going to kill you. Don't use an oil lantern for your storm preparations, please. Or any type of flammable type of light, please. Not a good idea. That includes any type of kerosene lights, any type of, I wouldn't be so worried about like a propane lantern, like a Coleman propane lantern. That wouldn't bother me so much. But definitely don't do a lantern like I've got, a white gas lantern. Yeah, not for storm preparedness, no. Anyway, I wanted to pass that on because it's just kind of one of those things I see people may overlook because those things are so tried and true, and you just don't get any more reliable than an oil lantern. You just don't. Unfortunately, in some situations, they can be deadly. So, anyway, let's do some headlines. Let me get out of here for the evening. Everything's from stuff I put out today. Let me have a sip of tea. Do have video content coming out soon. I will be shooting video tomorrow regardless of what the hell it is. So I'm going to try to do shed work tomorrow, and if it's not raining and I can do work on the little shed that is to help repair the one wall, I'll be doing video work with that. If not, then I'll be inside doing video. I'm going to do a little video on locks. That way you guys can get a better close-up view on what I'm talking about when it comes to locks. And then I have to do the hybrid hydro growing pot video. Need to get that done. So 3 different video projects real quick like. So Fun. I'm not saying YouTube's going to get all 3. I'm just saying there's going to be 3 video projects. You will get the hybrid hydro. That one you will get. And I will give you guys the lock one. So that way you guys know. That's, again, another one of those important things that you guys need to know. And I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, you got to pay me to know this important information. That, in my opinion, is morally and ethically wrong. But again, I do appreciate anybody that wants to come over there and throw a couple bucks our way each month and help support these projects. So it is mucho appreciated. So I will say this, though. If you do intend to come over there, please don't do it now. Save to it. Wait until the first of the month, because we're at the end of the month and they'll charge you $2, and then turn around the first of the month and charge you another $2. So if you're gonna come over to Patreon, do yourself a favor and hold off until the first of the month before you do, so you're not paying a couple of bucks for a week. So anyway. National Guard leaves U.S. Capitol grounds after nearly... How do you like that? Start the headlines and I start coughing. I'm sorry. National Guard leaves U.S. Capitol grounds as nearly 5-month deployment to Capitol to remain closed. Wow. I'm just not doing good on that at all. Let me try that one more time, and this time I see the comma. National Guard leaves U.S. Capitol grounds after nearly 5-month deployment, Capitol to remain closed to public. Now, see how hard that was? It's really complicated. Let's see. They're back. Undeterred revelers return to Huntington Beach after nearly 150 arrested at weekend TikTok party. Hundreds in India flout lockdown to cremate divine horse who died trying to rid the world of COVID-19. Totally not related to escaping the wrath of COVID-19 by drinking cow urine, though. All right, let's see. No to hatred against Jews. More than 1,000 rally against anti-Semitism in Nuremberg, Germany. London-based BLM activists shot in the head after numerous death threats. Police say no evidence of targeted attack. Really? Shot in the... Now, mind you, in a place where you're not allowed to have guns, shot in the head in a place We're like a country where you can't have guns. I don't think it was targeted attack. Really? Myanmar's ousted leader Suu Kyi makes first in-person appearance in court since coup. Crypto crash ? Bitcoin loses half its value from year's high. China furious as new report suggests Wuhan lab staff sought hospital care weeks before COVID-19 outbreak was disclosed. Well, looky here. Do I know anybody? Oh, I don't know. Maybe sometime around when all this crapola started, it was awful suspicious of this virus and the way it acted and the way it mimicked certain things like HIV, for instance. Remember I said then that this was a lab-made thing? And apparently, even Fauci is now in agreement on this. So, China passes 500 million COVID-19 vaccines administered in latest milestone. U.S. soil and gas infrastructure crisis may be worse than thought. By the way, I have to know, if this does turn out that this came from the lab in Wuhan, is it okay to call it the China virus? Asking for a friend. And Trump. Most trusted aide of China's Xi in Russia for security talks as Putin says ties between two countries at best level in history. AI is the one ring to rule them all, but don't worry about killer robots, a UK general says. No. Let's see. Japan opens 2 mass vaccination sites in bid to inoculate all over 65s before Tokyo Olympics. 1-minute non-invasive COVID breath test authorized for deployment in Singapore. You mean they didn't prefer to opt for the anal swab? How could you resist? China cools off soaring industrial metal prices amid post-pandemic demand surge. Can we go back to like 1980 something-ish? Because I'd do that over again. I mean, beats the hell out of these times. Even if it was the 80s, it beats the hell out of these times. I mean, let's see. By pushing for regime change in Russia, the EU Parliament has revealed how irrelevant and unreliable it is for the future of Europe. Of course, I'm not saying that. Russia is. Russia. Latvia's Air Baltic to avoid Belarusian airspace after EU demands investigation into emergency landing of Ryanair plane in Minsk. Yeah, that's one hell of a debacle right there. And you'll see it in the headlines. Even the United States gets called out and dragged into this one. Israeli police neutralize assailant who stabbed 2 in East Jerusalem. Saudi Arabia bars anti-vaxxers from pilgrimages and overseas travel and bid to improve COVID vaccine take-up. Now, see, when they're, and I get it that we're talking about RT anyway, but when they talk about this stuff in other nations, you see, they tell you the truth. The reason why they're doing this is to convince people to get the vaccine. The United States, it'll be worded differently. It'll be about your safety, your protection. And they won't use the words that necessarily directly that they're trying to convince you. they're going to use the safety. They're trying to protect. They're trying to, and I know it's all the same thing, but wording is important. Wording is important, and they've gotten in a lot of good ones on us, just how they use language. Let's see. Macron and Merkel call for expanded funding, empowerment of WHO to battle pandemics. Black fungus declared as an epidemic in Jammu and Kashmir as India battles deadly infection. Can't tolerate external interference. Spokesman says Beijing concerned by U.S. and South Korea's talk of Taiwan stability. India to avoid recession with economy forecast to grow despite COVID crisis. Ryanair CEO calls forced landing of plane in Belarus a state-sponsored hijacking as airline pledges to cooperate with authorities. UK helpline receives hundreds of calls reporting sexual abuse and harassment at schools in under 2 months. Scandal-plagued BBC again under fire for hiring Palestinian reporter who once tweeted that Hitler was right. Yikes. UN nuclear watchdog and Iran agree to extend monitoring through June. A missing man found dead inside dinosaur statue in Barcelona. WHO boss blasts scandalous inequity in COVID jab sharing and demands global commitment to inoculate 10% of each nation by September. Right on with your bad self. Production of Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine begins in India amid growing death toll and supply shortages. Flights coming to or from Lithuania to be banned from using Belarusian airspace as Vilnius reacts to hijacking of Ryanair plane. Major Chinese crypto exchange suspends domestic Bitcoin mining operations. Israeli prosecutors charge 3 Jewish suspects over attempted lynching of Arab man who was pulled out of his car and beaten. Embattled India prepares for second cyclone in 2 weeks after over 100 died in previous storm. Not a gulag of Russia's government in talks to create new convict labor super camps to cut need for migrants, a minister reveals. Patients waiting up to 3 years to see publicly funded NHS dentist in England, a watchdog report reveals. Trump impeachment witness suing Mike Pompeo in the United States for $1.8 million in legal fees. Polish mine will not be closed, PM vows after EU court order to cease coal extraction amid Czech dispute. UK Defence Ministry spent 3.2 billion, that would be pounds, on tanks that can't shoot on the move, says a report. So yeah, essentially I guess they can't move and fire. Which, why in the hell, if you got military equipment that you have this type of a flaw, why was it made public? Because now everybody else knows that as long as that tank's moving, it ain't shooting. Yeah, it's kind of a good thing to know. Idiots. But it reminds me of a lot of our adventures with military equipment as of late. State terrorism. Latvian minister removes Belarus flag from ice hockey world championships display amid plane hijacking row. Those are fighting words. Move your flag from your ice hockey world championships display. That's not going to get any more anti-diplomatic than that, sir. Belarus Ryanair plane case is outrageous. America and its European allies set precedent when they tried to get Snowden, critics say. Malta declares COVID herd immunity success after vaccinating 70% of adults with at least one dose. Moscow's very own Canton, Swiss tycoon holding a Russian town hostage after letting Fidel Castro's former factory fall into ruin. Protesters blockade Nigerian highway with burning tires over demand for greater security after kidnappers terrorize the region. More than 200 people injured after two trains collide in subway tunnel in Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur. 100-plus AP staffers condemn firing of journalist Emily Wilder over criticism of Israeli government. Bahrain reports national record daily COVID death toll as kingdom's virus surge continues. Future virus is more deadly than COVID-19 will spark new pandemic, WHO chief warns. Already trying to get you in fear of the next one. Tesla owes thousands of customers in Norway $16,000 each in fines over reduced battery capacities. L for logic, UK considers action against Russia's Nord Stream 2 over Belarus landing Ryanair plane. Lukashenko signs laws banning Belarusian media from covering unsanctioned protests and preventing journalists from participating. If you can't tell, it kind of pissed people off when they pulled that. Federal court rules Georgia's anti-BDS law is unconstitutional after case by journalists, says Abby Martin. Damn right it's unconstitutional. New law enables residents deplatformed by big tech to sue for up to $100,000 in Florida. Do not travel. U.S. warns against visiting Olympic host nation Japan amid high COVID-19 prevalence. Texas deputy makes dying admission of sexually assaulting children before taking his own life. I read this story and it's pretty horrifying. Apparently, he was also involved in affairs. When I say that, he was married as well. But there are apparently two other adult women that worked at the same police department that he had sexual encounters with, and I do believe both of those women, he also included underage girls. It even went as far as him drugging the girls with. It didn't say what type of drug he used, but he used some type of a drug to sedate. It seemed like that's what he was doing, was sedating the girls. And I don't know exactly. I don't know if the article said how long of a period that this has all gone on, but it made it seem like it'd been going on for a little while at least. And there are apparently several victims, and it's blows my mind. We need to be mindful that just because somebody works a certain profession, just because they fulfill a certain role, and I'm not just picking on law enforcement here, I'm talking anything, whether it be a role of clergy, whether it be a teacher in a school, even a school janitor, right? Anybody that might be in a position of quote-unquote authority. Man, this whole culture of don't question, especially don't question authority, yeah, that's got to stop. That's got to stop. Not saying that necessarily led to any of that, but it certainly doesn't help. But this is ridiculous. This one of those cases where there needs to be an accident happen. You know what I mean? Top cop in black man's deadly arrest withheld cam video. Yes, apparently years have gone by. And just now, a video from body camera from the officer himself is just now coming forward. And it's even more damning than any of the other stuff that's been brought forward before. This is ridiculous. Oops. See, Poland to become first EU country to import Turkish drones after agreeing to deal with Ankara. Biden White House refuses to compare Ryanair situation in Belarus to grounding Morales' plane to get Snowden under Obama. Shameful fear-mongering, a question mark. LGBTQ plus activists blast 60 Minutes for segment on trans youths featuring people who have detransitioned. Hoist the Black Lives Matter flag. U.S. embassies to champion global racial justice on George Floyd anniversary, according to a leaked memo. So, I believe it's tomorrow, supposedly, if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow, U.S. embassies around the world are supposed to be flying the Black Lives Matter flag. Now, I take issue with this because we aren't supposed to be doing this kind of stuff. We're not. This is far beyond just protesters. This is a political movement. This is an ideology movement. This is, in some aspects, an insurrection. And for our government to be complicit globally and promoting an ideology not a good idea. This type of ideology, don't misunderstand me. I mean a political ideology. Because don't mistake this. That's why those flags are getting flown. It's a political move. Now, I'm not saying it's to get people in office or any that different type of politics. Different type of politics. Okay? This is not okay. And this isn't because I'm whatever. It's gone too far and it's gotten ridiculous. And it's getting nowhere. Black Lives Matter and Patrice, or whatever her name is, going out and buying, $1 million homes and shit like that, ain't doing a damn thing to stop people from being killed in the streets at the hands of law enforcement. Not a damn thing. You and I both know it. But the government's going to ride on that coattail because it's a bunch of spinning wheels and a bunch of do-nothings. And you're going to appease a large majority of the sheep. It is what it is. No peace and no justice. Prosecutor in case against officer who shot Dante Wright reportedly resigns over partisan politics. EU leaders move to close skies and airports to Belarus over Ryanair incident and freeze 3 billion euros investment until Minsk turns democratic. And there is a number 2 up here. Contractor pilot dies after Mirage F-1 fighter jet crashes outside Nellis Air Force Base near Las Vegas. Yikes. And Chicago Mayor Lightfoot welcomes non-citizens to join Civilian Advisory Council overseeing police. So that is what Beetlejuice is up to there in Chicago. So anyway, that is going to cover the headlines and my nonsense and nastiness for the evening. And God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. So Satan willing, we won't. Anyway, I hope you all have a good evening. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.